Welcome, everyone. So thanks for joining me again today. Here at Acorn Content, I have another episode for you on how to improve your sleep. We are going to go over the damage that's caused when we don't get enough sleep, both on our physical and our mental health, some of the benefits of getting a good night's sleep, and then also some of the things to avoid, what you want to avoid, and some of the things that you want to start incorporating. As always, be sure to talk to your doctor. I'm not a medical expert and I'm not providing medical advice. Sometimes there could be underlying health problems that are contributing to sleep problems, so make sure you follow up with your primary doctor. But to get us started here, so some possible causes, some common causes that cause sleep issues for people are sleep apnea. There's also, of course, a lot of mental health problems that cause sleep issues for people. Sleep problems have been shown to be correlated with PTSD, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder. And another cause could be diet. Sometimes the way that we're eating can really affect how well we're sleeping at night. Okay, so let's go over some of the physical damage that is done when we don't get enough sleep. And what do I mean exactly by not enough sleep? So the recommended amount of sleep is 7 to 9 hours a night. For most people, when they start getting 6.5 hours or less, that's when we see this sort of spike in medical problems and emotional problems that start to really show up. So you want to do your best to try to get at least 7 hours. One of the biggest things, and maybe the most scary things, is that lack of sleep has been associated with a shorter lifespan. Our body produces these sort of cancer assassin cells. Our body is always sort of producing cancer cells, but we have these little assassin cells that go in there and destroy them before they can create much more of a problem. And they found that when we don't get enough sleep, there are less of these cancer assassin cells in our body. One of the other things that happens when we don't get enough sleep is our body produces a hormone that makes us more hungry than we were if we had enough sleep the night before. So this usually turns out to eating about an extra 200 to 300 calories per day. And in terms of years, that's about another 10 to 15 pounds of weight a year. Lack of sleep also makes us reach for those junk foods, simple sugars, simple carbs, things that taste really good but really aren't that good for us. It's also been associated with high blood pressure, obesity, type 2 diabetes, impaired immune health, heart disease, and even dementia. One of the last things that I came across in some of my research on what the lack of sleep can do to us is that it can put us at a higher risk of injury during physical exertion. So when you're doing something that's really difficult, you're more likely to get injured. And that's because sleep affects our balance. Okay, so enough of the bad news. Let's get on to, I guess, some of the positive stuff if you do get enough good sleep at night. Because I think that for the most part, a lot of times we're more motivated by rewards than negative consequences. They found that sleep is one of the best performance enhancers that we know of. What I mean by that is when you're trying to develop a new skill, so say for instance that you're trying to learn the guitar and you're trying to form a new chord, or maybe you're trying to learn a new riff and you're just having trouble getting it. After you practice, if you go to sleep and you get a restful night of sleep, one of the things that happens is you'll see a 20 to 30% increase. You know, they found that part of our brain in learning new skill, when we go to sleep, our brain sort of runs through the process and helps us to further develop the skill. So if you're trying to learn something new, make sure that you get a good night's sleep after you practice this new skill. So these are some things that you want to avoid if you're trying to improve your sleep. You hear this one all the time: screens, any kind of screens at night, your cell phone, TV, computer, any of these things that are putting off that bright light signal to the brain that it is not yet time to go to sleep. So you ideally want to shut these off about an hour before you're getting ready to go to bed, maybe a little bit more. One of the other things that you want to do in the evening after it gets dark is you want to sort of turn your lights down low so that it's still not completely bright in your house, but that when the sun goes down, the lights in your house also get turned down. You also want to do your best to stress about not being able to sleep. It can be really stressful. I know that I feel terrible sometimes when I wake up in the morning and I can just feel that I didn't get a good night's sleep. But continuing to stress about it and worry, especially when you're getting ready to lay down that you're not going to get a good night's sleep, is going to make it even more difficult. So do the best that you can to try not to stress over not being able to sleep well. You also want to avoid alcohol and cannabis. I know these are two things that can be very relaxing and that can even feel like they bring on sleep for people, but especially alcohol is more related to sedation, not technically sleep. They have found that cannabis helps people fall asleep quicker, but both alcohol and cannabis block dream sleep, or the REM stage of sleep, which our body desperately needs, and these chemicals interfere with that. If you've ever gone on a little sober binge, and you wanted to abstain, or maybe you've gotten rid of any kind of chemicals in your life, you might have noticed that when you did that, you had really vivid, crazy dreams, and that's because our body really craves this dream sleep. So when we're not getting it, and we finally remove the chemicals that are blocking it, we dream very wildly. Okay, so those are the things that you want to avoid. Here are some things that you want to start trying to incorporate. You want to start trying to set a very regular sleep schedule. This is one of the most predictive things of a good night's sleep. When they've done the research, they found that this regular schedule is one of the things that really helps people get a good night's sleep. It helps establish really consistent circadian rhythms so that it feels very natural for you to fall asleep. So you want to set a time that you go to bed and that you wake up at the same time every single day, even on the weekends. You also want to keep yourself cool. The body needs to cool down a little bit for us to be able to fall asleep okay. So one of the things, this might seem counterintuitive, but that you can do is to take a hot bath. And what that does is that opens up the blood vessels and it allows heat to escape from your body. You could also just turn the air down in your house when you get ready to go to sleep too. That will work just fine. One of the other things that you could consider doing is starting to form a regular meditation practice. Regular meditation helps to calm the mind. It helps for stress reduction, and it just helps with what I mentioned earlier, with being able to relax when it's time to go to sleep. One of the other very important things that I've talked about in other episodes is viewing sunlight in the morning and in the evening. And again, this relates to our circadian rhythms and is going to make it very natural for us to be able to fall asleep, that we won't have to struggle against sleep when it's time to go to bed. So there are different wavelengths of light in the morning and in the evening. So what you want to do is go out early in the morning and stay outside, just go on a little walk, maybe go for about 2 to 10 minutes, and then go back out in the evening, same time, about 2 to 10 minutes, and get that sunlight into your eye. And that's going to signal in the morning that it's time to wake up, and then in the evening that it's about time for you to go to sleep. If it's an overcast day, you're probably going to need to stay out a little bit longer. You're probably going to need to stay out maybe anywhere from 15 to 20 minutes to get this effect. And the effect can take up to 2 to 3 days. So don't expect it to happen right away. Exercise is also very important to help people sleep well at night, but exercise needs to be early in the day and not close to the time that you go to sleep, because if you exercise too close to your bedtime, it's going to keep you awake. I would say anywhere within 3 hours of when you're getting ready to go to sleep is probably not a good idea. Ideally, 4 hours before you're getting ready to go to sleep is probably a good time. But even better, if you can get in the morning or early in the day, that is optimal. And all forms of exercise have shown to be helpful: aerobic, resistance training, mind-body exercises were actually shown to be the most effective. These are things like yoga and Tai Chi, things that are incorporating the meditation and physical exercise. They also found that people who make time for leisure-related physical activity were shown to sleep a lot better compared to people who just maybe work very hard. So I know a lot of you maybe workaholics out there, you think that, I work really hard all day long. I'm outside, I'm working, I'm very physically active, so I get my exercise in that way, which is good. It's probably a lot better than, what I'm doing is, which I sit here all day and sit at a computer. So I really have to force myself to get up and go exercise. It's good that part of your job makes you exercise, but in the research that they found, this doesn't necessarily have a positive impact on sleep. It only had a positive impact on sleep when the exercise was was related to things that the person just wanted to do for fun. So that's all the tips I have for you today, and I wish you a better night's sleep. See you next time.